If you came in late, my name is Scott Mendenhall. Welcome to Unlock Church. We record all of the teachings because we have amazing volunteers around here that if you have a child, they are teaching them about Jesus today, and they don't always get to see this, so we put it online. And you, if you want to go back and go, hey, what did he say? You can go back and rewatch it and share it with people. And so to all of our volunteers that are watching this, thank you so much for doing what you're doing today. So I'm not a professional on anxiety. There are a whole bunches of ways to deal with anxiety, okay? I want to make sure that you know that from the get-go, that what we want to do is holistically take the approach of anxiety, that it takes many, many things sometimes to overcome the things that we are facing in our lives, which might be a therapist, it might be a change of the way you eat, it might be changing the way you hang out, or who you hang out with, it might be taking for a season, taking some kind of medication under a doctor's supervision. Those all might be possible things for you to overcome your anxiety. Today, where I kind of lean in on it is the spiritual aspect. There is a spiritual aspect to anxiety. In the nation right now, this is the highest amount of stress or anxiety that has ever been. Like the latest stats that I have read, again, just me doing research, it said that 40%, I think this is low, and I know it's low because all I could find was of like a year and a half ago or so, 40% of all of Americans are stressed. 40%, or deal with anxiety to a level that they need not just stress, to make sure, if I say stress, I mean anxious, okay, just so you know. So anxiety is more than 40%, I'm sure, but that's those that have raised their hand and are getting some kind of help, 40%. That the millennials down, right, is the generation that struggles with anxiety the most ever. We've never seen a generation deal with it so much. And some of it is linked to that when you and I were in school, if you're my age, which I'm 29, 41. But when you were my age, right, you went to school, and if you're getting bullied, you went home. And the bully stayed at school, okay, unless it was your neighbor. Today, if kids are getting bullied, they go home and they open their phone and it's on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, social media, TikTok, or whatever they're into, they are still getting bullied and they're still feeling the anxiety that you and I only dealt with when we were at school. And these are some of the reasons why young people are so anxious. Growing up, I grew up with three sisters. We lived in Peoria, Illinois, which is about 8 hours south of here, and that's where my family and Holly's family, my wife, is from. And growing up, we would always get a chance to earn our driver's license when we turned 16, and my parents would always give us a car. It was not an amazing car, okay? Don't immediately go, oh, wow, yeah, your parents, they're really nice parents. No, they gave us like 1970, it looks like where I'm dressing today, the 70s, okay? It was probably even older than that. The story I'm about to share, I was driving we called it the Smurf Mobile because it was the color of a Smurf. It was a Ford Granada, Granada. It was the Ford Granada. I also had a Ford DLT, which these cars are like the length of the stage, okay? And the front hood, like I'm driving here, the end of that stage over there is like where the front bumper is, okay? It was like, you didn't need airbags then because there was so much metal that by the impact, you were safe, okay? You were just safe. No airbags needed. Some of the cars that my parents gave me didn't even have seatbelts, okay? Because they just weren't a thing. Like when I needed to turn on the brights for the car, it was on the floor, okay? The brights, I don't know who thought of that, but it was on the floor. It just, you stepped on it and the bright lights came on. It's just, these are the cars I drove. They didn't go very fast. You go up any hill, and all of a sudden you were wondering, will I make it up the hill? One afternoon, my sister and I, younger sister, we're going to see my mom for lunch, and we're driving, and it was midwinter, and we're going, and I'm pretty sure we were having a sensible conversation, but it was her and I, so we were probably arguing about something. She was probably saying I'm going too fast or something crazy, and I was like, no, just watch this, and I would just get a little bit faster, not recklessly, but all of a sudden I'm driving, and the light in front of us, the signal turns yellow. And I don't know if you are like me, but when the light turns yellow, my first reaction isn't, oh yeah, I better apply the brake. My first reaction is, do I got time? Can I make this? And then there's that, okay, mash on the gas pedal and you get going, or you're like, no, let's just be sensible and hit the brakes. Well, I was 16 years old, so there was no sensibility in my mind. So that doesn't happen for me until I about was 30. So I hit the gas pedal, And remember, this is a Ford Granada. I hit the gas pedal. It did nothing, okay? I just put it through the floor, and it just was like, not today, son. Not today. Okay, that day is gone for me. And so I hit it. We didn't go anywhere, really. We're getting out of the spot where, oh, crap, I need to hit the brakes. I hit the brakes. It had just snowed a little bit. And when I hit the brakes, I hit it too hard, and the car started spinning as we're going towards the light signal that signaled me to stop, okay? Now I'm trying to stop as we're going in a circle, and I'm counteracting the turn, and we're going on. My sister's screaming at me, stop the car, stop the car. I'm pretty sure I was yelling back, that's not helping me. It's not helping me. And I'm just trying to steer it all around. Eventually, we just started going sideways, like here's the stop. I'm just going sideways now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to hit this dump truck right here. It's going to on my side. And I was like, please work. And I mashed on the gas again, and all of a sudden the car said, okay, today's the day. And the car just spun a little bit and took off, and now we're headed towards the ditch. And my sister yells, not the ditch, not the ditch. We can't get out of there. And I'm like, okay. And I start spinning again, and eventually I end up in the turn lane, and we slowly just exit off, and your heart rate's through the roof, and every body part now has a heart rate all of a sudden. I don't know if you've ever been there. I get there a lot in my life. And you're just like, wow, that was amazing. My sister starts hitting me. I'm going to tell Mom. And I was like, I just saved your life. You should be thanking me. Okay, what is wrong with you? Just like the stoplight is a signal to stop, because if you keep going, you're going to crash into the car. Anxiety is a signal in your life to stop. Just like I should have stopped and should have stopped sooner than I did, anxiety is a trigger for you to pay attention all of a sudden in your life. What the heck's going on? And if you don't utilize that as a trigger for you to figure out where in your life things are not okay, they're not at the right level they need to be, you will just continue into a hot mess. Right? If I wouldn't have eventually hit the brakes in the car, I would have ended up in the intersection, or I would have hit the dump truck, and this story would be way different, and you wouldn't be laughing at the end of it, right? It's funny because, oh yeah, you finally stopped, and you got off, and okay, that's pretty humorous. The sad thing that breaks my heart when it comes to anxiety is that most people don't view it as a signal, and they just keep mashing the gas pedal, and they just continue to struggle with anxiety more and more and more, and they continue to go get help, and the help isn't helping. It doesn't matter what drug they get put on and how many times they change or how many times they do. It just is not. It is because they've not taken time to go where's the problem? On the car topic, a great thing about cars is they have what my dad taught me. They're called the idiot lights. I think nowadays they don't get called that because we want to be nice to everyone. They're just, I don't know what we call them. I just call them idiot lights. Like, hey, I'm the guy that drives till my gas light dings. I don't ever look at the gauge. If that ever breaks, I'm in big trouble. I will run out of gas because I'm just waiting for the idiot light to say, hey, idiot, you need gas. What's your problem? Or the light for, hey, put windshield washer fluid in, the light goes off. I used to have a car that talked to me. It was Holly's favorite car, and it would tell me things like, hey, your windshield fluid is low, you should change it, or your oil needs, and it literally talked to me. It was like awesome. It was like I got an upgrade. It was still an old car, but it talked to me. I was like, this is awesome. It never really told me anything helpful, like, hey, slow down, there's a cop up ahead. That's what I really wanted to tell me. It told me things that I already could have just sorted out, like, hey, the door's ajar, and I'm like, do you think? It's wide open. I know. Tell me about the cop. I can't see. Okay. But the idiot light tells you, hey, there's a problem in the car in this spot. Start looking here. When it comes to anxiety, it doesn't tell us where the problem is in our life. It doesn't say it's a relationship problem. It's a fear problem. This anxiety comes in, and it's a signal. Now, what do? If you are walking in here, here's what I've learned about anxiety in my own life when I am struggling with anxiety, I stop dreaming. I stop thinking of the future. I stop being creative. I stop being me. I mean, the Snickers commercials, right? Isn't it all about, hey, take a Snickers, right? How many seen these commercials, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? It's always some famous actor that we all know that they're known for being like loud or crazy, and then they're like, hey, you're not acting like you. Here's a Snickers, and they eat it, and it's just this normal guy or normal girl, the Snickers, right? You're not being you. When you struggle with anxiety, you are not being who God created you to be. And that's why we're spending so much time on it, is because I understand that when I read through the owner's manual, the Bible, when I read through that, it distinctly tells us that we are uniquely made, each one of us. And when we are being the unique person we are created to be, we're making the most impact in our lives, in our families' lives, and those that we work with, those that we drive by. When we are being uniquely who we are made to be, we'll make the greatest impact. I don't know about you, but I want my life to matter. I think that's an all-escape for most people, is that you boil it all down. I want my life to matter. I want to know I made a difference in somebody's life. I want to know that I didn't just collect a lot of stuff and it was just about toys, and then life's over. No, I want to make a difference in your life. Not to be popular or famous. I want to make it because I value people. I want to know that my life matters and that your life matters. And when we get stuck in this moment of anxiety, which the root of anxiety is fear. Living in fear of the unknown, future, things that you can't control. I always say to myself when I come through anxiety, it's like, man, why? Why do I fear something that is presently not happening? Like, I can understand being terrified if a bear is approaching me. Right now, I'm in danger, right? Bear coming at I saw The Revenant, right? That bear scene was crazy, okay? Bear coming, I'm like, I got to run. But I can sit or lay in my bed at night, and I can paint a picture that feels just as real as me being in the woods and a bear coming at me, but I'm presently not in danger. That, to me, is what fear is. Not the fear of being in immediate danger, I got to move, I got to get out. It's made up most of the time, and that leads us to being anxious. Most of the time, not all the time. I'm speaking for myself. Most of the stuff that drives my anxiety is the fear of something I've made up, the what ifs. And when I do that, I stop dreaming of what if we could change the world. Or what if I go talk to that person and talk to him about Jesus? Instead, I get inward, and I think only about myself and what I'm dealing with. And then I get angry at other people because they're not concerned about me. And then this cycle happens where it's all about me, and I don't care what other people are struggling with, and all of a sudden, I find myself in a spot I never wanted to be because I never listened to the signal. I didn't pay attention to oh, yes, something's not right. Okay, I am anxious right now, so where's the problem? And so today, maybe you're like, okay, so you're saying something I already know about. I am anxious, so where's the problem, and how do I deal with it? I'm coming from it today from a spiritual aspect on how to deal with it. And maybe you need a partner with a therapist, and maybe you need a partner with a diet change. And these things will help you solve some of the things in your life and how to deal with anxiety. My hope is today that you walk out of here a little bit lighter. So let's define what is anxiety. We didn't do this last week. We just jumped into it. Here's how I'm defining anxiety. This is a little bit of my opinion in it. A feeling of being overwhelmed, uncertainty, struggling, a constant pressure, angst, a heaviness, panicked, irritable, discouraged, not sure if you want to face tomorrow. That's all what we're talking about here today. So if you've ever had it, okay, that is the signal. Next question I always ask this week. So is anxiety a sin? If I struggle with this, am I just a horrible, no good, rotten person? Is this a sin? No, it is not. And if somebody tells you it is, that breaks my heart. Because nowhere where I found in the owner's manual, nowhere is it addressed as this is a sin. Okay? So don't allow that to compound your anxiety. Oh man, I'm doing something wrong. No. There's just something in your life that's not happening the right way that we just got to figure out what it is. And that does take people. So here's the biggest thing that I can and this might even bring more peace to you on this topic, is that when Jesus was at his height of anxiety, was moments before he did the greatest thing he did for the world. Okay, Jesus, moments before he died, went to a garden to pray. If you want the story, we're not going to put it up on the screen, but it's Matthew chapter 26. Matthew is an eyewitness account of this moment, so he writes down what he saw Jesus go through in Matthew chapter 26. You should totally read it this week because this should give you like, okay, Jesus did deal with anxiety. Jesus goes into pray. Prays like 3 times and keeps coming back to the guys that are with him and they're sleeping. He gets irritated and he's like, what's wrong with you? Matthew records that Jesus was praying so intently and seemed so overwhelmed with anxiety that he was sweating drops of blood. And scientists have proven that if you're under enough anxiety or stress that the blood capsules can burst into the sweat glands and then sweat and blood are mixed. That happens when you're at high levels of anxiety and stress. Like, think about that. That's just telling you how stressed Jesus was. This is God's one and only Son. He did tons of miracles. He was 100%. This is going to blow your mind. This might make it hard. He was 100% man and 100% God. I don't understand that completely, but that's what I love about God. I don't need to understand everything about God. I think if I did, that would make him less God. Now, that doesn't mean I don't study and figure out my questions that I have about God. I study and want to know as much as I can about God. But I'm okay with the fact that I probably will never know all my answers to God because he's God and I am not. And so here we have Jesus, 100% man and 100% God. He's so freaked out. He prays, okay, take this from me. His prayer is, God, I don't want to do this, man. Is there another way? And then he says, your will be done, not my will be done. But he's freaked out. And then he goes, dies on a cross, and comes back to life. We used this story in a series we called Just Okay Isn't Okay. And we talked about when Jesus was not okay, he did his greatest work. He changed the world. It's okay. If you're in a season of not being okay, just don't live there. When we follow the story of Jesus, he didn't live in this of, I'm not okay. He fought through it, right? And here's the deal. When he was not okay, he did his greatest miracle. Died on a cross and rose again. That actually should go, okay, so if I'm not okay, it's going to be okay as long as I don't live there. And, man, maybe Jesus will use me not being okay in a bigger way than I can ever imagine. It's possible. It is possible. And so that's how I know that anxiety is not a sin. Jesus dealt with it moments before he changed the complete world. Anxiety is not a sin. It's a symptom or a signal. So my goal here is to maybe when you get the signal of anxiety that your first step would be, because at that point, you've already caught the thought, right? We're at the spot, like last week, we talked about, hey, to avoid anxiety is just don't catch that thought, let it go, and catch the right thought. Today, we're talking about if you caught the thought, now you're anxious, now what do you do? Now what do you do? When you're anxious, what do you do? Well, a lot of the authors in the Bible covered the thought. Paul, one of my favorite guys to read, one of the authors in the Bible, wrote a lot of the New Testament, which is the second half of the Bible. If you're new to being a follower of Jesus, so you're like, what is the Bible? It's so big. And you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. The New Testament covers the story and journey of Jesus' life and then the early church. And Paul found Jesus. He was killing Christians and then found Jesus. Like, talk about your backstory, your things you have to walk through and process through. And when Paul writes about forgiveness, boy, think about that. He gets it. I mean, he was killing people that he now became. It's just crazy to me when you think about it. So Paul, one of my favorite authors in there, he writes a letter to a group of people that it was just titled Philippians. And he writes to a group about being really positive. Like, if you want to get happy, read Philippians, okay? So if you're like really down in the dumps, you're read Philippians. It's like the happy book, okay? He's just always cheerful. You're like, woo, all right, this dude, man, nothing bad. But when you know where he wrote this, it's even crazier. When we read the words in a moment from the author Paul, when we read the words that he penned, he was in jail. He's not writing this sipping pina coladas on the beach somewhere under a palm tree. He is in jail with the thought of, okay, this ends in one of two ways. 1, I'm free and I get to go. Or 2, I'm killed. Talk about stress and anxiety. And he's in the moment of his prison, he pens some words that we can live by. And I want to jump in and read it, break it down for you. And hopefully we walk out of here with a little bit of homework. So Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. Again, new around here, you're like, why do you say that? Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. Okay, if you look down on our TVs down in the bottom corner, or you have a Bible, the big number is the chapter 4, verse 4 and 9. An easy way and it wasn't written like this way back in the day. It's just a way that people have decided so that we can follow along in moments like this, so you know how to get to where we are in the stories throughout the Bible, is the verses. Those are the tiny little numbers by each like paragraph or something. That's just so you can find your way. That's just simply what it is. It's not a spiritual aspect to it. It's just so that when you stop reading your story tomorrow, you can pick up and go, okay, I ended Philippians chapter 4, verse 9. Okay, that's where I ended. So tomorrow I'll start at 10. Okay, so here we go. We jump in, and Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again, rejoice. Now, some pastors would use that and go, if you are struggling with anxiety, you're just not doing that. Just do that and you'll be good. But that just heaps so much weight on people. Because sometimes just in anxiety, I don't feel like celebrating. I don't feel like throwing a party. I don't feel like pumping up some balloons with helium and, woo, yeah, woo. I'm fearful of tomorrow, but boy, is it good. No, I don't feel like doing that. But he starts off, he's like, okay, look. He goes, pay attention here. Rejoice in the Lord always. And I say it again, rejoice. And if you read through his writings, he will say a ton of times, rejoice. But here he drops in the Lord, or God, or Jesus. Rejoice. Doesn't mean throw a party. It's understanding who's on the job with you, that you're not alone. Anxiety has a funny way of isolating us to feel like it's just us and our stuff. And Jesus is going, woohoo, I'm still here. I didn't go anywhere. I've been where you are. And Paul, because he's like, okay, I'm going to say it again. I told you this is a happy book, okay? If you want to get happy, read this book. I'm going to just say it again, okay? Rejoice. And I know he's probably snickering as he's in jail. He's like, when they read this, they're going to know where I am writing this, and they're going to, what's their deal? Like, I'm on death row, and I'm writing rejoice in the Lord. Whatever they got going on can't be, maybe it is, but it probably can't be. He's like, I got him. Because there's no argument when you know he wrote it. But he's trying to give us context of where we go when the signal goes off. When we can't rejoice and anxiety has come in, the signal tells us we got to run to God. But how do we do that? Verse 5, let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. The gentleness be evidence is he's referring to let everyone know that you're going to be generous to them. You're going to be kind. Like, this isn't just about you. It's those that you go to work with. He's saying be gentle and may it be evident. May people be able to see your gentleness. Now, he didn't just say those that are closest to you, like everybody, be gentle. And then he says the Lord is near. When he writes, the Lord is near, he's saying, hey, that God encompasses your life if you're a follower of Jesus. Like you're walking in a bubble of Jesus all of a sudden. He's all around you. You're not alone. Remember, these words are being wrote from a jail. Some would say that he was on house arrest, meaning he couldn't leave his house, but that was his prison. He was just in a house, and there was guards around there. And that was his life. And I don't know how he's getting the letters out, you know. In my mind, when I read this, I just stopped for a while and played a movie in my mind. How's these letters getting out the window? I just felt like he was tying little things to little pigeons' feet and letting them go, hey, go north. And I don't know how it went really quick. Some of you go like, wow, your imagination. Yes, it just does that. But I'm just, I don't know those details. I like to imagine how it went. But Paul's got this message he needs to get to people about anxiety. He continues on as after he said, okay, rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evidence to all. The Lord is near. And then he goes on, do not be anxious about anything. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And there it is. Rejoice always. As much as you can rejoice and celebrate, do it. It's like the antidote to depression and anxiety if you can continue to celebrate even though you're having a rough moment in your life. And I know a lot of times in our life we go through seasons that I don't want to celebrate things. But if you can figure out something to celebrate, you will take your eyes off of the problem. Don't be anxious about anything. That's the goal. That's the target we're talking about. Don't be anxious about anything. To my young people, don't be anxious about, I can't wait till I get 16 and get a car. I can't wait till I graduate. That's being anxious about the future. It'll come soon enough. Just relax. Just continue to worry about how I dress, okay? It'll be okay. Don't worry about those other things. That's what everybody else is doing. But Jesus calls you as young people to fix your eyes on him and not the car and not the boyfriends or girlfriends in the future. Think about Jesus. Fix your eyes on him, as my son goes, whoa, you said girlfriend. We're not there yet. You'll get there, little buddy. Don't worry. But we're not to be anxious about anything. That's my goal in life. I'm not there yet. But he comes along and says, okay, that's the goal, but here's how you're going to get there. By prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, presenting your quest to God. See, when we get anxious, when fret and worry comes into our life, it indicates a lack of trust in God sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time, okay? Hear me. I'm not going to back you in a corner and say, this, you got a problem with Jesus if you have anxiety. That's not what I'm coming across as. If I am, that's not what I am saying. You're interpreting it that way. But sometimes it's a signal that our trust in God is not what it needs to be. It's a lack of trust in God's wisdom or his sovereignty or the power when we are worried about the future. We must delight ourselves. What's delight in meditate in his word? We gotta take joy in. Okay, I'm gonna take joy in prayer. Now, the minute I say prayer, some of you are like, how do I do that? That just sounds like such a religious word, prayer. And I oftentimes try to share it as it is a conversation with God. It literally is a conversation like you would have with me or you would have with someone. It's talking. That's the petition. That's the prayer part, talking with God. He continues in verse 7 of chapter 4. After he says all this, don't be anxious about anything. Rejoice always in the Lord. Always be in God. If you're not a follower of Jesus, man, this is something I'll just say. Just test this out a little bit. Go, okay, maybe I'll start putting a little bit of my trust in Jesus and see what happens. I don't know about Jesus yet, but boy, I've tried everything with my anxiety. Maybe you need Jesus on the job. Maybe you need to just know that you're not alone. Because this is the peace that like we all want. Author Paul is so good at writing that he goes, and the peace of God which transcends all understanding. It surpasses what you know and what people understand. Will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. And the peace of God will transcend all understanding. The peace of God, it will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. When we put our trust in Jesus, we replace at some point anxiety with peace that passes all understanding. I can't explain it. I remember early on when we started Unlock Church, and there were a lot of stressful times, and really that's when I started dealing with anxiety at times when we were early on 5 years ago, and no one's coming to Unlock Church. And I'm like, how is this going to happen? I just don't get it. Man, boy, did anxiety overwhelm me, and it was crazy. It was at times it was like it was paralyzing. The fear of what if this doesn't work, and it's like I look around and I'm like, how did I think like that? What an idiot. But it was so real. It was so real. And I remember someone on a phone said, Scott, I'm going to pray that the peace of God rests on you that passes all understanding. And I was like, yeah, you do that. I would take some of that, okay? I'll take a little bit of that. Let's do that. Yeah. Great. If they pray all that, all day long that I would have peace. But what happens? I must come back and rejoice in the Lord always to get the peace. It doesn't matter how much somebody prays for the peace in my life. It doesn't work like that. The peace has to come because I come back and I rejoice in the Lord always. I find my understanding, and then I come and present my anxiety to God. I release it. I get it off my shoulders. It's no longer mine. I give it away. Like currently, I possess this Snickers. If I eat it, it will go straight to my hips. But if I give it away, it's going to go to his hips and not my hips, and I feel real good, right? It's like it's gone now. God wants you to come and give your anxious thoughts, the things that keep you up at night, the things that scare you to death. He wants you to give it to him. You can't worry big enough. You can't worry long enough to do it. You've got to pray enough. Maybe you're worried about a doctor's appointment. You got to pray. Maybe you got a decision to make, something big you're going to purchase. Do we sell a house? Do we buy a house? Do we move just down the street? Do we get a new job? You know what? Pray. Maybe you're a young person. You're afraid of, what school do I go to when I'm going to be? What do I want to be when I come? What if you're in school and you got to tell? What if I fail? But what happens if you don't fail? Just pray. Parents, maybe you're like looking at all the things you got going on in your life, and you're like, oh my gosh, Christmas is like just over 2 months away. Oh my gosh, how are we going to get the Christmas gifts for the kids? It's not looking good. And anxiety comes in. Hey, you know what I'm going to say? Pray. And I know it's such a religious statement, and it's such a thing that, oh yeah, you're supposed to say that. You're the pastor. I'm telling you this because it works. When early on, the thing that transferred my anxiety about the church into, okay, we got this, Jesus, was when I started praying and I began to tell him all the things that were on my mind. And some of you sitting out there go, okay, Scott, so how do I start praying? What's the middle part of the prayer look like? How do I end the prayer? Do I got to like sign off like Jesus signing off here? Over out, good buddy. Like, how do I do this? Like, well, how does prayer? I get it. Those are real questions. These are real concerns for people. They're going, I don't know how to pray. Well, let me help you. I'm going to just make it really as easy as I can and how it made sense to me. If you don't know, we have 8 kids, 8 of them. Yes, if you're a first-time guest, you're going, man, are they all yours? Yes. They're my wife's and mine, okay? She had something to do with it too. But we have 8 kids, and all of them come to me and share their concerns differently. All of them, all 8 of them. Like, I cannot treat all of them the same, so I'm going to give you a couple of them because out of 8, we got about 3 or 2 that are just kind of sorting it out, right? They're not really talking, but here we go. Legend, my oldest, he just keeps going, Dad, 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 Dad. When he's doing the dad, dad, dad thing, like on repeat, like, and nothing else is coming out, like, I know he's got something he wants to get off his mind right now. It's important to him. Whatever is about to happen, it's important. I got to tune in because he just dadded me like 100 times. Early on, I used to go, legend. I've got things. And then I realized, oh, wait, he's trying to get my attention. If you watch any of our videos on YouTube, you will always hear him in the background going, Dad, Dad, Dad. And the scene ends there because I then shut it off, go, yes, legend, what can I do for you? I wasn't doing anything. What can I do? You know, and then we start engaging. He's like, Dad, I got to get this off my chest. This happened. He begins to tell a story. Icon, one of my daughters, she comes and she'll start rubbing my shoulders or my feet. And then as she's doing that, like, I know she just wants my undivided attention, unless it's during, like, movies or something. Sometimes I'll pay her to rub my feet. It's not slave labor if you're paying, right? It's like, it's okay. But she'll do that. Sometimes she'll go, Dad, do you want me to put some lotion on your feet? I was like, sure, I'll take some lotion. I mean, it's just a thing in our house. But when that's not happening, some of you are like, that's way too much information. It's okay. But she'll start rubbing back and start talking. It might be, Dad, this is what I want for my birthday. Or, Dad, today when I was playing football, I got afraid and I cried. And she just begins to share some of her stories. And she's just talking. Historic, she's our second daughter. She is, you just have her around her. She's a little fireball. She's amazing. She'll come right to me, like, you know, everybody else kind of has their distance. She's like right here at my leg, like she's only about this tall. So she's looking straight up at me, and when she's like, her shoulders are hitting me in the thigh, I know she wants to talk about something serious. Other than that, she's just running around everywhere around the house like a little bouncy ball, okay? Just like, woohoo, life is so good. She rejoices always, okay? That girl does. But when she got something she got to talk about, she'll come, head up, I'll look at her, and you can see the tears starting to just well up in her eyes, and I know she's got something to say to Dad, and it's like, Dad, this happened to me, and it hurt, and then I will get down on one knee, and I'll talk to her. Greatness, that dude, He's got the same personality. He's epic, and Epic has the personality. He's like the surfer bro. You know, like, bro, what's happening? You know, that's Epic and Greatness. They are just the bros, okay, in the house. Greatness has been running around calling everybody bro in the house recently, and I just hear it, and I just smile. I'm like, that's so good. He just called his sister a bro. It's so funny. I just like, yeah. I mean, he just look at the kid, okay? But he'll come to me, but before he ever gets to me, he doesn't even see me. He just starts talking to me from the other room. There's been times that he walks into the office and I'm not there. I'm downstairs, but he's talking to me about, Dad, I got this question. Something's going on. Can you help me? And he goes into the room, and then you hear him go, oh, Dad, you're not in here. Like still talking to me that I'm not in there. And sometimes I let it go on because I'm just smiling a little bit, but I know he's got something he got to get off his chest. And he goes, Dad, I'm looking for you, Dad. And he comes by me, and I'm downstairs, and as he's walking down the steps, Dad, I was just building my leg. I wouldn't even made eye contact. He just got to get it off. And then Epic, you know, that guy, he's just like I said, he's your surfer guy, just like, what's up, man? Life is just good all the time. And he's like, Dad, you want to go on a one-wheel ride? The other night we were riding one wheels, and we were just chatting. He goes, Dad, this is one of my favorite things to do with you, ride one wheels, because I get to talk to you. Can we ride one wheels more? And because for him, it's a moment where it's just him and me, and we're doing things that bros like to do, you know, and he starts just talking, Dad, this is what's going on in my life. Like, that's just a handful of my 8 kids that are all doing it differently. And if I'm not in tune, I will miss my kids sharing things that are on their heart. My point in this is, how do you deal with your anxiety? When the anxiety signal goes off, it should signal you to pray. It should signal you to enter a conversation with God. God, I am terrified in this area in my life. Maybe sometimes it's not so peaceful. Maybe it's a yelling match. God, I don't know why I'm still dealing with this. But it is a conversation that you need to have. It is being anxious, it is a signal alerting you it is time to read or it's time to pray. I'm going to have Kristen come up here. She's going to start playing the keyboard here. And we're going to give you a moment here to have a conversation with God before we walk out of here, because I get it, man. We're going to turn on the lights when we say amen here, and we'll get out of here, and life's going to happen, and I don't want you to get to Wednesday and go, oh, I need to pray. I want you to be able to handle some stuff today. But sometimes I don't know actually how to pray. Like, I'm just so anxious, I can't even get thoughts in my mind right. All I know is I am anxious, and my emotions are crazy. It's like little bouncy balls in my head just going everywhere. I can't think straight. And so what I have found myself doing is I will go to Psalms in the Bible, and I said this last week as well, but I will open up my Bible and read Psalms. Psalms, if you have the old school paperback version of the Bible, you just kind of open it up in the middle, and Psalms will be there probably. It's so good. It's journal entries of mostly King David, the second king of Israel. And he writes everything. There were moments in his life where he was stricken with a sickness, that he was on his deathbed, and he cries out to God, why have you not healed me? There's moments where his coworkers are coming for his life, and he writes, God, would you take that person's life? My gosh, they're coming after me with a spear. There's been moments David wrote in his journal entries in Psalms, I've screwed up. Would you forgive me? And so oftentimes in seasons in my life that I just don't know how to pray, I go to David, and I go, David, you probably had similar moments in your life where you're anxious. What did you have to write to God when you were anxious? So I'm going to read from Psalms 42. Psalms 42, it's going to be a little bit long, and the translation is called The Word on the Street. There's this guy. Maybe you're like, okay, translations, that's what gets me confused with the Bible as well. There's like this NIV, King James, there's a new, and you're like, what one's the right one? Here's the deal. Pick one up that makes sense to you. The translations are really to help people that think they're in just kind of different way of thinking. It all means the same thing. It's just you might enjoy that version better than one. There's not one that trumps the other. And so this word on the street is this guy that came along and he did all the things that everybody has to do to make sure it's still part of the Bible. He's not rewriting it. He made them more like rap songs or poetry. And so I want to read this because, man, this is like, sometimes I pray this. And yeah, it's long. Prayers can be real short. I remember when I about wrecked that car with my sister, I was like, Jesus, help. That was it. There was no more time for anything else. But when I'm anxious, and that signal's going off, Psalms 42, verse 1. I'm desperate for you. I'm gagging for you to be around. I'm lost without you, desperate to be found. I need you like an athlete needs air, like a twin needs its pair. I need you like life needs to be fair, like a mother has to care. Vibrant God, got the craving for you. I'd brave the worst to quench this thirst, but where do I go to get to know you? Where do we rendezvous? All I've eaten is tears. All I've seen is through smears. So blurred, been up all night, I'm talking, and it's so slurred. When I hear these words, where's God? Where is he gone? Is he dead? What's wrong? Is it really so absurd? Has it never occurred to you it could be true? God's through? But memories freeze the lie right there. I like how he starts telling himself, okay, no, that's not true. Thoughts dredged up by my turning soul. I'm where? Oh, I'm at God's headquarters in the leading role. How'd we sing full blast, how the bells would ring. And now at last, the thoughts bring me back such memories. Now that I'm down on my knees and my soul feels whole again, so why so swollen, soul? Why so moody, me? Why so down, so desperate, depressed, so incapable of breaking free? Don't give up. Let God lift you up. Stack the weight on God. All of it, complete. See if he can't juggle it, smuggle it all away at last, and set you back on Celebration Street. So why so swollen soul? Why so moody, me? Why so down, so depressed, so incapable of breaking free? Don't give up. Let God lift you up. Pour all that pain on him and crawl back out alive. See if he can't handle it. File it under P for the past. And get set back on Celebration Drive. I love that psalm. And I love the way it's wrote there. Sometimes it's me reading that and say, ditto, God. That's me. That sums it up. Jesus is the trump card. But it's taking the step when you feel anxious. It signals you to, I got to pray. And yeah, you might still need to go talk to somebody, and you should talk to somebody. And maybe, you need to go to a therapist, and that's good too. And maybe you got to change a lot of things. That's all okay. But if you're not praying about it, you're missing a large component in getting back to where you want to be. Great that if you go and medicines get you back on track, but I'm just telling you, you're missing a component. You're missing it. This is it. Maybe we get back on track. At the end last week, somebody came up to me and goes, hey, did you see your youngest son, Revolution? And I said, no. I can't see anything with these lights on. I was like, I didn't see him. They go, Holly walked in the room with him, and there was a lot going on. And all he did was look at you. He didn't look anywhere else in the room. He just fixed his eyes on his father. Looked past all the craziness in the room. And as I walked around, so did his eyes walk around. He's like, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months old. Somebody knows better than me. But he's there, He's just coming out of the bald goose stage, okay? But he just fixed on me. What we're talking about, guys, is fixing our eyes on Jesus and getting past all the distractions, the bills that need to come in or need to get taken care of, or the health concerns you have. And I know they're real things, and I'm not making light of those, but we're talking about get past those things and fix your eyes on God. Because when we do that, we will use anxiety as a signal to talk with God, our Father, who, just like I, having these kids of mine that come to me and ask or cast their cares on me, I do not sit there and go, don't talk to me like that. Don't give me that. What do I say? I love you. I get down on one knee to Historic and I wrap my arms around her and I go, I love you, girl. And I wipe the tears off and I'm like, how are you feeling now? Better, Dad. I got this. I just needed to tell you that. And I'll hug her. I might pat her on the butt and go, get back in the game now. God's going to hug you. He might pat you on the butt and say, get back in the game now. And that's good. And so I know time is always against us, but I can't not let you take a moment. So would you close your eyes? We're going to sing the same song we sang last week. Just the chorus to Tremble, because the words are so powerful. Maybe some of you in this process need to download the Bible app so you can use it this week and read Psalms. Maybe you just need to sing this song, but would you cast your anxiety, call it by name what you're fearful of, and ask for the peace that surpasses all understanding. Go ahead, just pray as we sing this.